The text came through while I was sitting in a hotel room 3 states away, halfway through a work trip that was supposed to last another 4 days. "Don't panic," it said. Anyone who has ever received a message that starts with "do not panic" knows that those 2 words guarantee you about to panic. My girlfriend had sent it at 2:47 in the afternoon, and I stared at those words on my screen, feeling my stomach drop before I'd even read the rest. I gave him your spare key. He needed to grab some things from the apartment. I knew you wouldn't mind. Trust me. I read it 3 times, trying to make sense of it. Him. She'd given my spare key to him. And there was only one him that made sense in this context. Only one person she'd refer to that casually, like I should just automatically know who she meant. Her ex. The same ex she'd sworn was completely out of her life. The same ex ID asked about 6 months into our relationship when ID noticed she still had photos of him on her social media. Still had his number saved in her phone under a nickname that ID only figured out by accident. She told me I had nothing to worry about. They were done. Ancient history. He'd moved on. She'd moved on. And keeping him as a distant acquaintance was just the mature thing to do. I'd accepted that explanation because I wanted to believe her. Because she'd seemed so genuine, so open, so unbothered by my questions. Because I thought I was being the cool, secure boyfriend who didn't get weird about exes. Now that ex was in my apartment, with my key, going through my things. I called her immediately. "Hey," she answered, bright and cheerful. "How's the trip going? What's going on?" I asked, keeping my voice level. "Why does your ex have my apartment key?" "Oh, that." She laughed, actually laughed, like this was amusing. "He just needed to pick up a few boxes he'd stored there a while back. Remember when I had him drop off those things from my old place? Some of it was his, and he finally has room for it now, so I told him to swing by and grab it." I didn't remember any boxes. I didn't remember her ever mentioning that her ex had belongings stored in my apartment. But I also traveled for work about twice a month, and there were plenty of times she had the place to herself. "You gave him my spare key," I said slowly, without asking me first. "I knew you wouldn't mind," she said, and there was the first hint of defensiveness creeping into her voice. "You're not even there, and he's in and out in like 20 minutes. It's not a big deal. Where are you right now?" "At work." "What? So he's in my apartment. Alone. Right now." A pause. "Yeah, but it's fine. He knows where everything is, and he knows where everything is." I cut her off. "How does he know where everything is in my apartment?" Another pause, longer this time. "I mean, I might have mentioned where I put the boxes. Look, you're making this into something it's not. He's just getting his stuff and leaving. That's it." That's when I made the call. Not to her. To my apartment building's front desk. I'd lived in the building for 3 years, and I'd gotten to know the security staff pretty well. There was a guy who worked the day shift, former military, took his job seriously. I'd helped him out once when he'd locked his keys in his car, and we'd stayed friendly ever since. He answered on the second ring. "Hey," I said, trying to sound casual. "Quick question. Is there someone in my apartment right now?" My girlfriend said she let someone in to pick up some boxes. I heard keys clicking, probably pulling up the security log. "Yeah, guy came through about 40 minutes ago. Showed the key, said he was there with permission. We verified he had a key and let him up. 40 minutes, not 20, and he was still there. Can you do me a favor?" I asked. "Can you go up and check on things? I'm out of town, and I just want to make sure everything's okay." "Sure thing. Give me a few minutes." I sat there in that hotel room, phone in my hand, feeling something cold and sharp settling in my chest. My girlfriend had given her ex my key. Her ex was in my apartment, alone, for at least 40 minutes and counting. And she'd lied about the timeline, lied about asking me, possibly lied about what he was actually doing there. My phone rang. The security guard. "So," he said, and his voice had gone flat and professional. "I think you should know what I found." He'd knocked on my door. The ex had answered, seemed surprised to see him, claimed he was just about to leave. But my apartment was a mess. Furniture moved around. My desk drawers open. My bedroom closet door standing wide. And the guy was sweating, nervous, couldn't quite meet his eyes. I asked him to leave. The security guard told me. Told him to take whatever boxes he came for and go. He grabbed 2 small boxes from your living room and left. But man, I'm telling you, something wasn't right. Your place looked like someone had been searching for something. I thanked him, asked him to lock the door and keep the spare key at the front desk until I got back. Then I called my girlfriend again. She picked up on the 4th ring. "Look, if you're going to be weird about this, Security just kicked him out of my apartment, I said, after he'd been there for over 40 minutes. Going through my things. Moving furniture. What was he looking for? Silence. What was he really doing there? I asked again. I don't know what you're talking about. Her voice had gone tight, defensive. He was just getting his boxes. The security guard said my apartment looked like it had been searched. My desk was open. My bedroom closet. What did you tell him to look for? Nothing. I didn't tell him to look for anything. Maybe he was just curious, I don't know. You're being paranoid. Here's the thing about being lied to. Sometimes you can feel it, even over the phone. It's in the slight delay before they answer, the way their voice pitches up just a fraction, the overuse of defensive words like just and nothing and paranoid. I want you out of my apartment, I said quietly. Pack your things. Leave your key on the counter. I'll be back in 4 days, and I want you gone before then. You're breaking up with me over this? She sounded genuinely shocked. Over him picking up some boxes? I'm breaking up with you because you gave someone access to my private space without my permission. Because you lied about how long he'd be there. Because my security guard found my home torn apart and you ain't give me a straight answer about why. Let me ask you something. How much do you really know about the person you're with? Not the version they show you, not the story they tell about themselves, but the truth underneath all of that. Because I thought I knew her. I thought I understood who she was, what she valued, what she was capable of. And I was wrong. She didn't leave that day. Instead, she showed up at my hotel that night. I have no idea how she found out which hotel I was staying at. I'd never told her. But at 11:30 at night, there was a knock on my door, and when I looked through the peephole, there she was. I didn't open it. I need to talk to you, she called through the door. Please, just let me explain. No, you don't understand. It's not what you think. Then explain it through the door. I heard her sigh, heard her slide down to sit against the hallway wall. And then she started talking. The truth came out in pieces, reluctant and messy. She and her ex had never fully ended things. They'd been on and off for months after she and I had started dating. She'd told him about me, and he'd lost it, started demanding to know everything about me. Where I lived, what I did for work, how serious we were. She'd told him, all of it. Showed him pictures of my apartment. Described my routine, my schedule, my business. He was supposed to just look, she said through the door. That's all. He wanted to see where you lived, see what kind of person you were. He said it would help him get closure. So you gave him my key and let him go through my home like it was some kind of museum exhibit. I thought he just wanted to see it. I didn't know he was going to go through your stuff. But she had known. Or she should have known. Because normal people don't need to physically enter someone else's apartment to get closure. Normal people don't spend 40 minutes in a stranger's home if they just picking up boxes. And normal people don't give their ex-boyfriend access to their current boyfriend's private space without permission. What was he looking for? I asked. Long silence. Financial stuff, she finally said, so quiet I almost didn't hear her. He wanted to know if you had money. Real money. He thought maybe there were documents or bank statements or something that would tell him. And there it was. The real reason. Her ex wanted to know what I was worth. Wanted to assess whether I was a threat, whether I could provide for her in ways he couldn't, whether he needed to worry about losing her permanently. And she'd helped him, given him the tools, betrayed my trust and my privacy, because she couldn't fully let go of someone who clearly still had hooks in her. I'm not coming back early, I told her through the door. I'm finishing my work trip. But when I get home, I want every single thing of yours out of my apartment. I want my key, and I want you to understand that we are done. Completely done. Please, she said, and she was crying now. I made a mistake. I know I did, but we can work through this. No, I said, we really can't. She left around 1 in the morning. I know because I heard her finally get up, heard her walk away down the hall, heard the elevator ding. I didn't sleep that night. When I got home 4 days later, she'd left. Most of her things were gone, though she'd left behind small items, a toothbrush, some hair ties, a sweater in the back of my closet, little anchors, things that would give her an excuse to contact me later, to ask if she could come pick them up. I threw them all away. My apartment had been cleaned, everything put back in its place. She'd even left a note on the counter with the key, a long rambling apology that I didn't finish reading. I threw that away too. The security guard stopped by later that day to check on me. Told me he'd reviewed the footage from the hallway camera. Her ex had been there for 53 minutes. He'd left with 2 small boxes and a folder he'd been carrying under his arm when he'd walked out. A folder that hadn't been visible when he'd arrived. I checked my desk. My old tax returns were missing. Documents I'd kept in a file folder in the bottom drawer. Nothing critical. I had digital copies of everything, but personal enough that having them in someone else's hands made my skin crawl. I filed a police report, not because I thought anything would come of it, but because I needed a record, needed documentation that someone had gone through my home without permission, had taken my personal documents, had violated my space. The officer who took my statement asked if I wanted to press charges. I said yes, against both of them. Nothing came of it, ultimately. It became a he said, she said situation, and without proof that she'd explicitly told him to search my apartment or take anything, there wasn't much the police could do. But it sent a message. It made it clear that this wasn't something I was going to just let slide. She tried to contact me dozens of times over the next few weeks. Texts, calls, emails, messages through mutual friends. All of them saying the same thing. She was sorry. She'd made a terrible mistake. She wanted another chance. She'd cut her ex off completely now. It would never happen again. I blocked her everywhere. Changed my locks. Told the building security that neither she nor her ex were allowed up under any circumstances. Her ex tried once to get into the building about a month later. Security turned him away and called the police when he refused to leave. I never found out what he wanted, and I don't care. Here's what I know now that I didn't know then. Trust isn't just about believing someone won't hurt you. It's about believing they'll respect your boundaries, protect your privacy, and put your well-being above their own comfort or convenience. She failed every single one of those tests. The key she gave away wasn't just a piece of metal. It was my security, my privacy, my trust. And once she handed it over to someone who had no right to it, there was no getting any of that back. I'm more careful now. I don't give out spare keys. I don't assume that someone's ex is really an ex just because they say so. And I pay attention to the small betrayals, the little boundary violations, because they're usually warnings of bigger ones to come. She taught me that trust is earned slowly and lost instantly. That access to your life is a privilege, not a right. And that sometimes the person you think you know best is the one hiding the most. I don't regret how I handled it. I don't regret ending things immediately, pressing charges, or cutting her off completely. Because the alternative would have been accepting that my home, my privacy, and my dignity were negotiable. And they're not. They never were.